Rob, December 18th is a date that I know you have very firmly planted in your mind because it is, as of right now, at any rate, it is as of right now, the launch date, the release date for Denis Villeneuve's new take on Dune. Now, of course, whether or not Dune is actually going to make that release date, that's still up in the air right now. I mean, we're supposed to get Tenet at the end of August internationally and at the beginning of September in whichever theaters are open in the US. We'll see if that actually happens or not. December is still a little bit of a ways away, but still a little bit of a question mark. Well, assuming that for a moment, Tenet is able indeed to release on time where it's going on December 18th, there may be another problem, Rob.
Oh,
and
no.
that problem, according to Denis Villeneuve, is the lockdown has caused some issues for him, and he says right now it's basically going to be a sprint to the finish line for him. He was talking recently at an event, and he said, yeah, it's going to be a race. Now, let me just read the first little bit. This comes to us from IndieWire, who writes, Denis Villeneuve's Dune is still on track for a December 18th release later this year from Warner Brothers, but it's a barrel to the finish line, according to the director. In a new Montreal-based interview promoting the Shanghai International Film Festival, Villeneuve spoke about how the pandemic has crushed the movie's editing schedule. While production mostly wrapped before the quarantine hit, Villeneuve had been planning reshoots that were ultimately challenged by the shutdown of filming. Check out the video below. We'll skip on that. Then Denis Villeneuve says, I was planning to go back and shoot some elements later because I wanted to readjust the movie. I needed time. At the time, I didn't know that there would be a pandemic, as we were about to go back to do those elements, he said. The impact was that it crushed my schedule right now. It will be a sprint to the finish, to finish the movie on time right now, because we were allowed to go back to shoot those elements in a few weeks. It meant also that I'd have to finish some elements of the movie like VFX and the editing, being in Montreal as my crew stayed in Los Angeles. Rob, listen, we've known for other reasons for a while now that there is a potential set of problems of Dune making that December 18th release date just because of the situation in the world.
Yeah.
I still think there's a fairly decent chance it makes its release date being still December. What are we in August now? September, October, November. It's still 4 months away. There's still a decent chance that maybe it could make it anyway, but that may not ultimately be the issue. The issue may be the 4 or 5 months that Denis Villeneuve have already lost, and he just simply may not have enough time to get there. Rob, let me ask you two separate questions here. Number one, do you think Denis can get this done on time? Question number two, let's say Denis doesn't feel he can get it done on time. Do you think Warner Brothers will just say to him, listen, we need to get content out, do the best you can, and let's release this thing? Or do you think, because we already think what you've got is great, whatever, or do you think they go, okay, you need another month, you need another 2 months, we'll give you a few more months. So do you think he can make it? And if not, do you think they give him the time to really breathe a little bit and get it done? Or do you think they tell him just, hey, just do the best you can? What do you think is going to happen here?
Well, I watched that whole hour-long interview, and I suggest anybody who's interested in Dune or Denis Villeneuve should watch it because it's a really fascinating interview. And he said something about he can't edit remotely. And one of the things, I've been doing some editorial with this show I've been working on, this animated show I'm working on for Netflix, and we've been doing remote editing via Zoom, sharing screens and things like that. But he said it's really hard because you feed off of the energy, and he made a joke. He said, my editor is like my psychiatrist, and he deals with all my insecurities and how I feel about the movie, if it's good or if it's bad. I mean, he's the one right there dealing with it. And Villeneuve's got a point. I mean, there is an energy that it happens between a director and an editor in a room that is incredibly creative. And the fact that he doesn't have that, it gave me pause. I'm like, man, I bet even when you're editing remotely, you're getting half the work done. So there was that. And two, I think that if he doesn't have the movie exactly the way he wants it, I don't think Warner Brothers would release it at this point. Last year, I would say no, they'd be locked into a release date. But now, with these large tentpoles all being pushed, I just don't think, a movie that's this important, that's this expensive, that has this much riding on it, the Bene Gesserit Sisterhood TV series, a potential film series, they're not going to half-ass this. They're going to wait until it's great. Now, maybe he will be able to hold on to that release date. But I don't think they're going to compromise the movie. I think they're only going to release it if it's great. And if they need more time, any other year, I'd say, John, nope. They're going to release it on December 18th. But this year, dude, you know what? If giant city destroyers showed up like Independence Day style over all the cities of the world, I wouldn't bat an eye. I'm like, well, 2020. And I think that we're in a world where who knows what's going to happen, but I really don't think they're going to compromise the creativity and the work and the money that they put into this film. Hopefully it'll come out. They've got 4 months, like you said, but if it's not ready, it's like, what is it? Paul Masson wine that Orson Welles, we will sell no wine before it's time.
It's time, yeah.
The spice must flow, but only if it's good to go.
You know what? You got to make that into a T-shirt, by the way.
Boy, that's terrible.
I'm going to take the exact opposite position as you for the exact opposite reasoning. You see, I would almost feel like if it was a year ago, I would think Warner Brothers would say, let's delay. It's fine. Let's delay. I think today might be a little bit different because they have gone so long without being able to release any product. I think they're very desperate to release product. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that I think if Denis comes to them and says, hey, guys, I'm only 70% of where I want to be. I don't think they said, screw it, whatever. But I think if he comes back and he says, look, I've been rushing to the deadline. I feel like I'm like 95% there. I think if we're within those kind of margins, then I think Warner Brothers goes, you know what, 5% versus needing us to delay another 3 months. We'll take Denis Villeneuve's 95% over 80% of the other directors at 100%. So let's just go. I think it depends on how close to finish he is. You know, if he's like 70% there, I think to say, okay, then we need to delay. I think if he's like 90% there, 95% there, I think they go, you know what, 5% is unfortunate, but wait against 3 more months of delay when we haven't been able to release anything forever and we're in a position right now that we can release it. I don't know.
Yeah,
I think they do.
I think that's a very good point, and I think you're right about that. Like you said, they do have 4 months, and I think he knows right now whether he's going to be done or not, even though he says it's a race to the finish line.
You're a good point.
They know. I mean, they already know if they really need these reshoots, or maybe they're going to use the stagecraft technology that they use for The Mandalorian. I mean, who knows what they're doing, but they know. And I do think, though, that, like you said, I mean, I think Tenet is going to teach the entire film industry a lesson. And that lesson's either going to be a good lesson or a bad lesson. And we'll see if it does, in fact, come out. I mean, John, it's supposed to be released internationally on August 26th.
Tenet.
You know, we're less than 4 weeks away. We'll see if it happens. I mean, what do you think? You think, that's a Warner Brothers movie.
Yeah, I think it'll get its international release. I don't know if they'll open in all 70 countries that they say they're going to open in, 70, but I think they're going to open whichever markets are available to them. The bigger question becomes that September 3rd North America date. Do they actually meet that? And we're going to have to wait and see. But you're right, Rob. I think Tenet is going to kind of set a little bit of a litmus test for everything going on, including for Dune. The question is for you guys. What do you think about this? Do you think Denis can get this thing to the finish line on time? If not, but he's really close, do you think Warner Brothers says, hey, we got to release that in this day and age right now? If it's close, we got to release it. Or do you think they go, you know what? Let's delay it a little bit. Jump down to the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. All right, guys.